In my videos, I talk about many of the top trends and topics in the digital imaging industry. It's not only my hobby, but through this channel and your support, I've made this my full-time occupation. I lean heavily on tools of all types, from various cameras and gadgets that make life easier to the software that I use to transfer, view, and process my digital content. The things that are important to me are probably many of the same things that are important to you. I enjoy software that helps me to get high-quality results in a short amount of time. I also like things that don't cost very much. But I am willing to invest more when something saves me time and gives me high quality results. That said, you may have different priorities, and what works for me may not work for you. I never preach or dictate. I share what works for me and the basis of my decisions. Okay, so finally I'm going to give you my thoughts on one very hot topic in the digital imaging industry: Adobe Creative Cloud's switch to a subscription-based business model, most notably for one of their flagship products, Photoshop. Recently, I subscribed to Photoshop and Lightroom for $10 a month. Previously, on my Mac, I've been using the lighter Photoshop Elements while leaning more heavily on Apple's Aperture 3. Frankly, that setup works just fine for me. To keep things interesting though, I'm no stranger to all sorts of tablet apps like Snapseed, and I lean on add-on products like the popular Nik filters to augment my use of Aperture. While that setup works great for me, many of you do rely on Photoshop and Lightroom, and you have questions. Lots of questions. So far, I've been taking your questions and finding videos and online tutorials that would best address what you're looking for. But if you know me, you know that I like to be the one to roll up my sleeves to help out. And at $10 per month, it seemed like an easy decision to make that small investment, to be able to help you firsthand, while maybe even using these software packages for my own work. Do I like the software? Of course I do. Adobe has been in this business for a long time. They have shaped the way that we work with our images. They've done away with cumbersome ways of doing things and have evolved toward a very efficient, quality workflow in both Photoshop and Lightroom. I'll talk more about those products in depth as I continue working with them though. But let's talk now about the elephant in the room, the subscription model. Photoshop was expensive, very expensive. Once you bought, you could then upgrade to the next version at a substantial discount while still paying hundreds. Not everyone upgraded with every version, but eventually you'd be missing out on new features. A few years down the line, your version of Photoshop might be less capable than a more current version of Elements. So eventually, you'd have to decide if you wanted to bite the bullet and upgrade. Meanwhile, in the industry, things are as dynamic as ever. Getting your start as a freelancer has never been easier, and the internet has made collaboration with folks around the world easier than ever. Did your small team just land a new contract and you need to staff up with contractors in a hurry? The subscription model lets you scale up your licenses and then scale them back down in an instant. You're not stuck with the large capital expense of buying many licenses for a project that will be completed in a matter of weeks or months. Okay, that's good for businesses. But what about advanced users who may freelance from time to time but aren't using these tools as their bread and butter? That's where many of you, my viewers, fall. Everyone needs to make their own decision, but here are some of the factors. If you are upgrading Photoshop with every new release, the subscription model could work out the same or even less expensive. Cost to start up? $10. Cost to keep it going every month? $10. And you always have the latest versions with no big upgrade price. I can't promise what the prices will be in the future, but right now that monthly $10 gets you Photoshop, Lightroom 5, and Lightroom on your iPad. If I had to pay upfront for perpetual licenses, for me, I wouldn't have any of these products right now. $10 though is something I can deal with. Another thing to consider is to look at how you're using editing software. Photoshop is the biggest, baddest editing software in town. Professional photographers, illustrators, and web designers rely on it as their workhorse, and the best in the business can produce out-of-this-world results. We're not all like that though. I'm certainly not. I bought Aperture a few years ago, and it suits me well. Between the core application and the plugins, I'm happy as a clam. When I've needed to do detailed, pixel-level editing, I've been leaning on Photoshop Elements for that. And there are plenty of free and open source tools out there as well. There is definitely no shortage of editing solutions available, some for subscription, some for permanent purchase, and many for free or for under a few dollars. So for me, the low cost of entry and the ability to always stay up to date is the big deal. For me and my business, that's easily worth the $10 monthly payment, and probably something I wouldn't have done if the cost of entry were higher, as I'm already using other tools to get my work done. For you, the answer may be completely different, And one thing to keep in mind is that we all get to vote with our wallets. Does Adobe pay attention to their bottom line? Of course they do. They're not a nonprofit charity. They're a big company that wants to make big bucks. If they stop making big bucks, they'll change with the weather, or they won't survive. Ultimately, you, the consumer, get to choose where you spend. And if their model isn't right for you, no one should be pressured into it. There are plenty of alternatives out there. For me, I feel that Adobe has some of the best packages on the market that are well worth the price of admission. Feel free to comment on this video with your thoughts. I know that there are many strong opinions out there, both for and against Adobe's new purchasing model. And we all tend to feel that our own opinions are the best and the one right answer. Feel free to advertise your opinions in the comments. Keep in mind though, diversity of opinions are a good thing. So if someone doesn't agree with you, no hurt feelings. Opinions are how we learn and communicate. Even when we don't agree, there can still be plenty of respect passed around. That's it.